give us a little bit of insight on your journey, how you got to where you're at today?
I'm Justin Brown. I am the current Managing Director of Endeavor Southeast and the Managing Partner of BESPOKE Production Capital. Before I was running a entrepreneurial nonprofit and running a credit fund. I was a real estate developer. And before that, I was an investment banker. So that was kind of my journey, was the finance parts of real estate, where I got really good at credit. Had an exit and started doing private lending and put a little fund together and have been doing that. And along the way, got asked to run Endeavor Southeast, taking over for Jackson Andrews, my predecessor, like a good friend of mine. And it's been pretty fun.
So give us an overview on Endeavor. What's the most exciting stuff that you guys are working on right now?
Endeavor's fun because you get to work with a bunch of really, really high growth entrepreneurs. Our goal is to take high growth, high impact entrepreneurial small businesses, right? So this could be startups, but they could be more traditional looking small businesses, right? And our goal is to make sure that those startups and small businesses don't stay startups and small businesses. They grow into, our next growing concerns, our next corporate citizens, our next great exits.
100%. Who have been like some of the favorite sort of success stories that you guys have landed on?
Julia Reagan with RX Lightning just had a pretty large exit. She's a great Endeavor entrepreneur. She's been an amazing entrepreneur. She's joined our board. She's a fantastic mentor. She had a fantastic exit. Like she's a beast. So she's somebody. We've got, and the flip side of that is, because that's a very traditional, fast growth, venture capital tech type platform. The flip side of that is, we've got folks like Jordan Mitchell with a company called Incon, right? And, his entrepreneurial journey has nothing to do with tech. He's been in construction his entire life. He did not graduate high school. He's a concrete mason by trade. And he just figured out that the most margin heavy area of construction was equipment rental. So he couldn't get the money to start up an equipment rental company. So he got an SBA loan to acquire a small equipment rental company. And he took that from $300K to almost $30 million of revenue and still growing.
Let's go.
And, he's beyond being a great friend. He's a fantastic entrepreneur, fantastic CEO. And, it's interesting because great companies and great entrepreneurs can look very different. They can do different things. They're all trying to do the same thing. They're all trying to grow. They're all trying to have impact. They're all trying to hire people, create jobs, create wealth. And that's what we want to do. That's what we want to support, whether you're renting equipment or whether you're a healthcare SaaS company.
100%. I love it, man. You said that you had your own exit. Would love to hear a little bit about that. Would you give us like kind of the play-by-play on how that went down?
I came back home after banking to do real estate development and did that for a few years. And we had some projects. The sort of crown jewel of which was Bradford Mills Lofts, Germantown. So that's kind of my baby.
Nice.
And did that with back in 2019. So I had a couple partners on that.
Yeah.
And including, so when I originally came back, to work with my dad. Very, very nascent part of the journey when we built some cool stuff together, which was pretty fun to get to do with your dad. So he'd been in construction his whole life and kind of got into development by accident. And I was like, hey, come back and let's do this thing together. And so we built something pretty cool. And we sold that property and a couple others, and
love it, man.
That was a pretty meaningful thing. So
Congrats.
He's gone on to continue to grow that company and have great success. And right about that same time, I said, hey, I want to try something else, and I started doing private lending, and I found a niche in sort of small corporate lending and actually film lending.
I love it, man.
Raised a fund and continued to build that. And again, along the way, I got asked to come do this Endeavor thing, which has been a lot of fun.
Fantastic. So unbeknownst to you until just now, we're putting on this mentorship event. We love hearing from folks that have done great things in their careers, movers and shakers, folks like yourself who had exits. What has been like maybe one of the biggest challenges as you've scaled a business, exited? I'm sure there's things that you see as challenges today. Can you talk to the mentees that are attending this event and in our community about some of those challenges and how you got through them?
I mean, everyone has different challenges. I don't know what anyone's specific challenges are going to be, and we can sit here and talk about, this is my challenge and how I got through it. And like, I don't think anybody really gives a shit about that. I can tell you this right now, and I'm talking to everybody out there. Figure out how to fucking execute, okay? We do not need more thought leadership. We don't need more technology for technology's sake. We need execution. You need grit. You need the ability to like lead some sort of a team. And you need the ability to plow through some stuff. And I think if you ask anyone who's ever done anything of any value, they will tell you that it was that willingness to take risk, that willingness to persevere, and that willingness to ultimately be the person that has to execute. And that's how they were successful. If you can't execute, like, I don't give a shit what your degree is. I don't care. The worst mistakes I ever made in my life were based upon the idea that I walked into a room assuming that my credentials mattered or my past history mattered, and they don't.
100%.
The only thing that matters is your ability to execute on that thing at that moment. And if you're going to run a company, it means all that execution is actually on you. You can't slough that off to somebody, and no one gives a shit about your podcast or your LinkedIn post. I can tell you that right now. No one that's going to pay you anyways.
I love it, dude. That's amazing. Tell us about, so the mentees, this generation of leaders, entrepreneurs, what are some things that you feel like they could improve on? I guess to expand on that thought that we just had, like, can you dive in on a few like practical application improvements, if you will, that this generation of leaders and entrepreneurs can take?
Expand on that a little bit. That's a broad question.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like people are stuck in the weeds of social media, getting likes. They're not like bottom line focused. They're not trying to understand how to be a CFO in their business. If they're trying to run a business, they're not trying to understand every facet of the business and become obsessed with it. I've seen a bunch of people be pretend entrepreneurs and fail for a variety of different reasons. What do you feel like are some of those key improvement points that maybe could allow people to not jump off the cliffs?
There's nothing new. Technology is new, and technology is innovating, and innovation wins. But there's no new secret to how to accomplish anything. There's no new method. There's no new mousetrap, right? You have to get out there. I mean, assuming that you don't have, assuming you're not inheriting a company, or assuming you don't have some other, embedded advantage, and God bless you if you do. The only other way to do it is you got to take risk and you got to outwork everybody and you got to execute, right? And I think risk and work to a certain degree are execution. If you're executing, you will beat everybody, right? And if you're beating everybody, you will build a company. You will build something successful. You will drive revenue. You will drive profit. You will drive value,
100%.
Right? You will drive impact. But it all comes back to the whole, what am I doing and how do I accomplish it, right? And focusing on that, what am I doing, I think is the key thing. And you can't get caught up in the ephemera of entrepreneurship or whatever it is. Like, don't go make fucking videos. Everybody out there who's watching this, please don't. We don't need more people making videos. This is a great video, by the way. I like that. So we appreciate you guys doing it. We don't need more of that, though. What we need are people that are actually going to go out there and drive execution. Because if you're looking for funding right now, I can tell you that there's not millions of dollars that we're just going to dump upon you because you got a great idea. That time is gone.
Totally.
You've got to be able to execute. You've got to be able to show how you're going to drive value. You've got to show how you're going to be able to get people their money back, right? If you want to ask for capital, you've got to show people how this thing that they're going to pay you for is going to actually drive value to their bottom line. I think we've seen it, right? The VCs are not throwing capital out like they used to. And people are unsubscribing from all of those lifestyle work production apps that they used to just pay for every month. They're all taking a real hard look at what their bottom line is and saying what's good and what's driving value to our bottom line. And if it's not, we're canceling. And so I think you've got to be really, really strict about your value proposition and then execute ruthlessly.
What are some of the key indicators when you're looking at a company that you're going to fund that stand out to you, that make, turn on the green lights for doing a deal?
It's a great question. So for me, there's going to be people that take this approach from, I think it's important to make sure everybody understands the background of the person you're asking that to. So for me, I'm a credit guy, right? So that means I'm not venture capital. It means I'm not really private equity buy, right? So what I'm looking for I'm looking for growth, but I'm ultimately looking for strong fundamentals. I'm looking for execution over idea, right? I'm looking for cash flow or the ability to pivot to cash flow very quickly over the idea of just pure revenue growth for revenue growth's sake, right? I don't care what your subscribers are. I care how sticky your revenue is, right? What is driving that revenue? What are your barriers? All of that sort of stuff. Like there's sort of some very traditional things that make a good business up, right? And if you're thinking about equity, you're always thinking about upside. So you're thinking about how do I drive that upward value? As a debt guy, I'm always thinking about how do I mitigate downside, right? My upside is capped, my downside is essentially unlimited. So I have to think about lead with how do I mitigate downside. If you're doing an equity investment, you're betting on potentially unlimited upside. So you're really thinking about how do I drive 5x, 6x value? For me, I'm thinking about how do I make sure that my principal, my interest get paid back? How do I make sure this company is valuable? How do I make sure I'm not being predatory? Mm-hmm. How do I make sure that this is a good transaction for everybody here? I think those are the key things.
100%.
That's going to be different for different people depending on what types of capital investment they're doing. And one thing I will say is if you are someone out there who's thinking about raising capital, make sure you understand what type of capital you're raising and who you're talking to and what type of capital they deploy and what they're going to care about, right? Somebody who's a seed stage venture capital investor is going to have a very different set of criteria than what I have from a metric standpoint. We're all looking for good companies though.
100%. Tell me about your mentors. Like, how did you get to, you seem like a kick-ass entrepreneur, have some amazingly entertaining and wise things to say.
I've had one or two things go right.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. Can you tell us about some of your mentors you had, some of the things that they instilled in you, any like wise words that you kind of remember that guided you along the way?
I had a dad who was in construction, who cleaned gutters after his day job. Who built an extension on our house, who was an entrepreneur who got, he had some health issues that he's overcome, I might add, which you want to talk about grit, like that's grit.
Sure.
So watching someone who taught me from a very early age that it's like, you get out there and you do shit. And that's how you build, right? And you drive value and you treat people the right way. You do business honestly. If something goes bad, you stand behind it and take care of the people that invested in you. You don't just go, well, that sucked, guys. Sorry, I lost your money. And I think there's too much of that right now. I had an uncle that gave me a job, lugging boxes in a warehouse, which was great because it was indoors and there was a little bit of heat in the winter as opposed to no heat at all.
Yeah.
So that was an upgrade for $7 an hour. But like that was a big thing. And like you got to work at a company, you got to work and you got to see sort of responsibility and action and stuff and customer service. I would encourage everybody to do something where they have to deal with the public. I had a first managing director in banking who challenged me, but ultimately was like, hey, the reason I'm challenging you is I think you can be good at it. It's fine. Find people to challenge you. Don't find people to blow smoke up your ass.
Totally.
There's lots of people that will do that. They're usually not actually trying to get the best out of you.
100%.
And then even now I've got a couple partners that are mentors in a lot of ways. I've got, Jake Butler, who's the vice president in our office, so he is technically my junior, but that guy knows more about Endeavor than I ever will. And in a lot of ways, I'm always asking him questions. I'm learning from him. He's mentoring me, right? And so that's the other thing too, is like, there's no such thing as the second you think you're too high or too smart, too advanced, or you can't learn something, that's when you're going to get your ass kicked. And sometimes it's a good thing. Getting your ass kicked every now and then is not a bad thing.
Yeah, 100%, man. Tell us about, I've got just a couple more questions. I'll let you get back to your coffee and crushing it at business. Tell us about maybe one of your favorite moments in business or what you like about it the most.
I think there is meaning in being part of a team or building a team and setting out to execute on a hard thing that creates value for others and then being rewarded for the success that you create. I think that is meaningful. And I think you can do that as as a junior in a big corporation, learning what it means to be a good teammate at that junior level. I think the first time you have the opportunity to lead teams, you're learning a new skill set, and then the first opportunity you have to build teams. Those are all very specific, things. But ultimately, when you can get people together and go accomplish something again that other people find meaningful and valuable, and for which you will be rewarded, that's the good stuff, right? And so again, that might be, if you're the junior on a deal team, that might be the first time that might be the first project that you get done, right? And that's going to feel good. For me, it was one of the first loans we closed when I was at Bank of America, fresh out of college, right? There's the moment where you lead a team for the first time and you go, shit, I know how to do this. This is pretty fun, right?
Absolutely.
Or you mentor that person where you got there, you try to show and teach, and then all of a sudden you see them doing without being asked to. Boy, that's rewarding as shit.
So you have.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to talk about destinations, right? Oh, I accomplished this, or did this, or had this exit, or whatever it is. What I can tell you is that, yeah, those are great. Everyone has them. I encourage you to go find it, whatever that is, right? Work towards those. And it will be meaningful in the way it is meaningful to you, and that's a personal thing. It is truly about the journey, though. Like, the good stuff is the journey. The good stuff is getting up every day and doing cool shit with cool people. Like building meaningful things in your hometown, right? Building things that people find valuable and doing it with good people. That is the stuff that matters.
100%.
Figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And then execute and drive value, and like, don't fucking spend all your time writing LinkedIn posts and shit. We do not need more thought leadership. I'm just going
I love it, bro.
Be very, very clear about that.
So last question, Louisville, tell us about what's going on here. Why is it a cool place? What's exciting? What do you got your hands in?
Man, Louisville's the best city in the entire world. So, I've lived in New York. I've lived in D.C. I've lived in Tampa. I mean, I've spent lots of times in San Francisco, L.A. I mean, I love Louisville. This place is so cool. We've got bourbon. No one else has bourbon. We've got bourbon. We've got more of it. We've got the best of it. Bourbon's cool as shit.
Yeah.
We've got a downtown that is growing and thriving. We've got a bunch of great entrepreneurs. We've got a rising capital scene here. People looking to put money out the door. We've got mentors. We've got a city that's hungry for success, and more importantly, is right for it. Cost of living is good. There's a lot of fun shit to do. There's good people who actually want you to be here and will welcome you. I don't want to be any other place. This is the best. This is as good as it gets. And if anybody has any questions about it, y'all have my email. Tell them that.
100%, man. All that being said, super excited to sit down, get some mentorship advice from you.
So we'd love to grab a coffee when there's not a camera on.
100%, man. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, man. Look, I appreciate your time, dude.
I'll shoot you a note when there's not a camera around. We'll do something else.
I would like that.